report. The 2026 NFL offseason is officially here. And for the Dallas Cowboys, this is the part of the year where everything slows down on the field but speeds up behind the scenes. When the games stop, the real work begins. And for this franchise, that work comes with pressure that very few teams in the league truly understand. The Cowboys don't evaluate seasons the same way other teams do. They don't ask if they were competitive or if they showed progress. They ask one question: did this team move closer to a championship? And once again, that question doesn't have a comfortable answer. Right now, the biggest cloud hanging over this offseason is the future of Matt Eberflus. Officially, no decision has been announced. Unofficially, around the NFL, the expectation remains that Eberflus is going to be fired. That expectation didn't come from one bad performance or one ugly loss. It came from pattern, inconsistency, missed opportunities, and a defense that never fully felt like it reached the level it was supposed to reach. In Dallas, you don't get unlimited time to figure things out. The standard is immediate impact, and when that standard isn't met, patience wears thin very quickly. What makes this situation more complex is the timing and the messaging coming from the Cowboys themselves. Brian Schottenheimer recently spoke about the team's timeline, and his words were deliberate. He talked about going through the process, doing the work, and not rushing any decisions. He mentioned the next 10 to 12 days as a critical evaluation period. On the surface, that sounds responsible, even smart. But in the NFL, not rushing doesn't mean standing still. While the Cowboys are evaluating, other teams are interviewing, negotiating, and locking in their futures. Time is a resource in this league, and how you use it often determines whether you're ahead or behind. Pause. Compare patience versus urgency. Give an example from past Cowboys off-seasons. If and when the Cowboys move on from Eberflus, the next question won't just be who replaces him, but what direction the franchise truly wants to go. Are the Cowboys still committed to building around defense? Or do they believe the modern NFL demands an offensive-minded leader? This roster has talent on both sides of the ball, but talent alone doesn't create identity. Identity comes from coaching, from philosophy, from the way a team responds when things go wrong. The next head coach will have to do more than call plays. He'll have to manage personalities, handle pressure, and make adjustments in real time. Coaching the Cowboys isn't just a football job. It's a leadership test under constant scrutiny. While fans tend to focus on coaching, the front office is also preparing for some of the hardest decisions of the offseason: roster cuts. Every year, teams talk about culture and loyalty, but the salary cap doesn't care about feelings. The Cowboys will have to identify players whose contracts no longer match their production, players whose health has become a concern, and players who may not fit the scheme of the next coaching staff. These decisions are never easy, especially when they involve veterans who have been part of the locker room. But if Dallas wants flexibility, these moves are unavoidable. Championships are built by tough choices made early, not comfortable ones delayed too long. According to ESPN, the Cowboys' expected off-season plan of attack reflects their traditional philosophy. Stability at quarterback remains a priority. The draft will be the primary tool for adding depth and youth. Free agency will be approached carefully, not aggressively. This isn't a team that wants to win March headlines. It's a team that wants to win in January and February. The risk, of course, is that conservative approaches can fall behind in an aggressive league. Other teams are willing to take bigger swings, and sometimes those swings change the balance of power. The Cowboys believe discipline wins in the long run, but belief alone isn't enough without results. As the next 10 to 12 days unfold, everything connects. The coaching decision affects the roster. The roster affects the draft strategy. The draft strategy shapes the 2026 season. This is how off-seasons quietly define franchises. There may not be a single headline-grabbing moment, but the accumulation of these decisions will tell us exactly who the Cowboys are and where they're going. The team says it's about the process, and now they have to prove that the process leads somewhere different than it has in recent years. Cowboys Nation has heard the promises before. This offseason isn't about words, it's about outcomes. The Dallas Cowboys now turn their full attention to the 2026 offseason, and one of the first major pieces of clarity we have is draft position. The Cowboys are officially locked into the number 12 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, and that matters more than some people might realize. This wasn't just a random outcome. The Cowboys' loss to the Giants combined with the Falcons' win directly impacted the draft order, allowing Dallas to move up and secure a better position. In a draft that is shaping up to be deep at multiple positions of need, picking at number 12 puts the Cowboys right in the middle of the action. At number 12, the Cowboys are in a sweet spot. They're high enough to land a premium talent, but not so high that they're locked into one position or one type of player. This is the range where teams can react to how the board falls. If quarterbacks push elite defenders down, Dallas benefits. If offensive tackles rise early, defensive playmakers may be sitting right there. Flexibility is power on draft night, and the Cowboys will have it. As we look ahead to potential draft targets, one thing becomes clear very quickly. Defense is going to be a major theme. Linebacker, edge rusher, corner, and safety all show up when you start mapping out realistic options at number 12. That tells you a lot about how the Cowboys see their roster. This isn't about tearing things down. It's about upgrading speed, physicality, and long-term stability. One name that immediately jumps off the board is Arvell Reese, linebacker from Ohio State. Reese brings size, speed, and instincts, and he fits exactly what modern NFL defenses want at linebacker. He can move sideline to sideline, handle coverage responsibilities, and still come downhill with authority. Drafting a linebacker at 12 might not feel flashy to some fans, but it's the kind of move that stabilizes a defense for years. Reese isn't just a tackler, he's a tone setter. Staying with Ohio State, Sonny Styles is another name to watch closely. Styles is versatile, physical, and comfortable playing in space. He gives you flexibility in how you deploy your defense, whether that's as a hybrid linebacker, safety, or matchup piece against modern offenses. The Cowboys have struggled at times with versatility on defense, and Styles would directly address that issue. This is the kind of pick that defensive coordinators love, even if casual fans have to warm up to it. Then there's Caleb Downs, one of the most exciting defensive backs in the entire draft class. If Downs is available at 12, the Cowboys will have a serious decision to make. He brings instincts, range, and playmaking ability on the back end, something Dallas has been searching for consistently. A safety like Downs can erase mistakes, disguise coverages, and change the way offenses game plan. Drafting him would be a statement that the Cowboys want to control games defensively from the secondary out. Edge rusher is another position that cannot be ignored, and there are several names that make sense in this range. Reuben Bain Jr. out of Miami is a powerful, explosive edge defender who can win with strength and quickness. He brings energy, physicality, and upside. David Bailey from Texas Tech offers a different profile, with speed and bend that translate well to the NFL pass rush game. Keldrick Falk from Auburn is another intriguing option, known for his motor and ability to disrupt plays even when he doesn't get home. The Cowboys know that you can never have enough pass rushers, especially in a conference loaded with elite quarterbacks. Cornerback also looms large, especially with names like Mansour Delane from LSU and Jermid McCoy from Tennessee. Delane brings size and physicality, fitting the profile of an outside corner who can handle press coverage. McCoy offers athleticism and ball skills, giving you someone who can grow into a true number one corner over time. In today's NFL, cornerback isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. If the Cowboys believe one of these players can anchor the secondary, number 12 is exactly where you make that move. Offensively, there are a couple of names worth serious discussion. Jeremy Love from Notre Dame is a dynamic running back with burst, vision, and big playability. Drafting a running back at 12 is always controversial, but if the Cowboys believe Love is a true difference maker, it could reshape their offense. Meanwhile, offensive tackle prospects like Francis Magioa from Miami and Spencer Fano from Utah address long-term needs in the trenches. You win in the NFL by controlling the line of scrimmage, and investing in offensive tackle is investing in the future of your quarterback and your offense. When you step back and look at all of these names together, one thing becomes obvious. The Cowboys are positioned to draft a cornerstone player. This isn't about filling a temporary hole. This is about finding someone who will still matter 3, 4, 5 years down the line. The outcome of week May 18th have felt disappointing in the moment, especially with the loss to the Giants. But in the long view, it reshaped the Cowboys' draft future in a meaningful way. As draft season unfolds, the conversation will evolve. Board will change. Prospects will rise and fall. But the reality won't change. The Cowboys are picking 12th, and that pick could define the direction of this franchise. Whether it's defense, offense, or the trenches, Dallas has an opportunity to get it right. Cowboys Nation will debate, argue, and speculate all the way up to draft night. But when the card is finally turned in, we'll find out exactly how the Cowboys view themselves. This draft isn't just about talent. It's about identity. And at number 12, the Cowboys have a chance to choose who they want to be. All right, let's get into the part of the offseason that really gets Cowboys Nation talking, arguing, and sometimes fighting on the timeline. And that's the mock draft and trade debate. With the Cowboys locked into the number 12 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the big question isn't just who they'll take, but whether they should stay right where they are, trade up, or trade back. And this is where philosophy comes into play, because how you approach this decision tells you a lot about how the Cowboys view their roster and their urgency to win right now. If the Cowboys stay put at number 12, they're betting that one of their true top-tier prospects falls into their lap. This is the safest option. No extra draft capital spent, no panic move, just letting the board come to you. In most mock drafts, this is where players like Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, or one of the top edge rushers could realistically be available. Staying at 12 means trusting your scouting department and trusting that patience will be rewarded. For a front office that values discipline, this approach makes a lot of sense. But now let's talk about trading up, because this is where things get controversial. Trading up from 12 would signal that the Cowboys believe there is a true difference maker at the top of the board who cannot be missed. Maybe that's Caleb Downs if he starts slipping but won't make it past the top 10. Maybe it's a dominant edge rusher like Reuben Bain Jr., who the Cowboys believe can change games immediately. Trading up costs draft capital, and that's the risk. You're sacrificing future depth for present impact. The question is whether this roster is close enough to justify that kind of move. If the Cowboys trade up, they're essentially saying, we know exactly who we want, and we're not leaving it a chance. That can be powerful, but it can also be dangerous. Miss on that pick, and you've set yourself back not just for one season, but for multiple years. Cowboys fans have seen both sides of this before. Aggressive moves can redefine a team, but they can also haunt you. Now let's flip the script and talk about trading back, because this might actually be the most realistic scenario of all. Trading back from number 12 would mean the Cowboys believe the talent drop-off is minimal and that they can still land a quality starter later in the first round. This approach aligns perfectly with a team that wants more bites at the apple. More picks mean more chances to hit. If Dallas can move back 5 to 8 spots and still land a corner like Mansour Delane, an edge like David Bailey, or a tackle like Spencer Fano, while adding an extra second or third-round pick, that's a win on paper. The risk with trading back is obvious. You might miss out on your guy. If there's one player you truly believe in and he's sitting there at 12, trading back and watching another team take him can be painful. This is where conviction matters. Do the Cowboys have a clear top target, or do they see this draft as a cluster of similarly graded players? That internal board will decide everything. Now, let's put this into a mock draft context. Imagine the top of the draft goes heavy offense early, quarterbacks, offensive tackles, maybe a wide receiver or two. Suddenly, defensive players start sliding. At 12, the Cowboys could be staring at a dream scenario where Caleb Downs or Arvell Reese is still available. In that situation, trading back becomes much harder to justify. You take the player, turn the card, and don't overthink it. On the other hand, imagine a board where the top defensive names are gone, and you're looking at multiple edge rushers, corners, and offensive linemen with similar grades. That's when the phone should be ringing. That's when a trade back makes sense. You accumulate value, stay flexible, and let the draft come to you. This is how smart teams stay competitive year after year. What about offense? That's where the Jeremiah Love debate comes in. Taking a running back at 12 will divide the fan base immediately. Some will argue he's a game changer who elevates the entire offense. Others will say the value simply isn't there. In a trade-back scenario, drafting Love later in the first round suddenly feels more reasonable. Context matters, and draft position changes perception. When you zoom out, the mock draft and trade debate isn't really about one pick. It's about identity. Are the Cowboys a team that plays it safe and trusts development? Are they a team willing to take a big swing for immediate impact? Or are they a team that prioritizes volume and flexibility? Each option tells a different story about how the Cowboys see their window. At number 12, the Cowboys control their destiny more than people realize. They don't have to force anything. They don't have to panic. But they also can't afford to be passive. The best drafts are proactive without being reckless. As draft night approaches, the Cowboys front office will be judged not just on the player they select, but on the path they chose to get there. Whether they stay,